It's Wilbert Cook again, the Executive Director, CEO of Hand Up Recovery Homes. Glad to come back to you one more evening. Unfortunately, our guest could not make it. Her daughter's birthday was today, and we got the days of the week kind of a little bit mixed up. But anyway, it's great. I want to give a shout out to Nisi. Happy birthday. And I hope you're having plenty fun. And they both will be on. They are two of the most busy women I know on the west side of Chicago. And Nisi's been speaking publicly and doing poetry and doing readings publicly since she was about 7 or 8 when I met her. But I think she started around 5 or possibly a little bit younger. She is very dynamic, but just like her mom, she stayed active in the community. One way to keep our kids from getting in a lot of the mayhem that sometimes happens in poor communities, those underserved communities, those with less places to employ your children, is to keep them active in different other volunteer organizations, different programs, athletics, poetry reading, dance. Those are good avenues. And it's a lot of free programs, not as much as it once was in some respects, but in other respects, they've opened up many more. You sometimes have to go out the neighborhood to find them oftentimes now. It were more youth centers and things of that nature in the poor communities 30, 40 years ago. And there are less of those in many areas. However, and other church after school programs, many of those are not as readily available or open to the community children like they once were. However, if you go to your city guides, go to your county guides, there are free services all over Chicago and Cook County, which Chicago is a part of, the biggest part of. And then there's some state programs that run in the city, around the city, in the county. And because you are a citizen of Chicago, a citizen of Cook County, a citizen of the state of Illinois, you're eligible for any free programs that they have for the citizens, because in actuality, your tax dollars and or your parents' tax dollars pay for that. Whether it's a sales tax, whether it's a income tax on your check, or whether it's tax on your property or your vehicle. The state, city, county all time tax each one of them, and each group usually have a tax on it. So the free programs that are paid for out of those, like oftentimes a Hand Up Recovery Homes gets beds paid for by the state, federal government, and we haven't had the city pay for any yet. But Cook County, our last grant for the nonviolence reduction, county paid for us to put people in the community and have events all over North Lawndale, East West Garfield, and Austin to try to help curb the violence. They allow for us to be able to set up out on different troubled blocks throughout the community. Pulaski and Van Buren, Pulaski and Congress, the Blue Line train, 16th Pulaski, Roosevelt and Pulaski, 16th and Holman, 16th and Douglas and Holman, Kedzie and Douglas, Sawyer and 13th, Sawyer and Douglas. So we've been all over that west side, Madison and near Laramie, Madison near Menard. So we have been all over that west side doing nonviolent reduction events and being there just to be out in the community trying to talk to people, encourage them, find out what they need, find out if they've been victims of gun violence, find out if we can connect them to any services to gun violence. And so now we're moving toward building better collaborations with other programs that are more well known, like CRED and UCAN and Metropolitan Family Services and various other groups that's been doing a broader and bigger scale of violence reduction over the years. And so we're looking forward to those relationships growing. Everything go as planned. Come July, we'll be getting back in action in those areas and we'll be putting people back out in the community trying to help folks, and we'll even step it up a notch and be able to talk to more people that are in the midst of a recent, potential shooting, or recently been shot, or recently have lost loved ones. So, and we have, as you know, from a few weeks ago, one of the best ministerial and human grief counselors that you can find, somebody who's helped so many families, not just with the violence, even though it was more than a fair share of that where he's helped families through, but it's just the natural things that happen in our community. We lose loved ones from illnesses a lot of times. We lose loved ones from old age. So with that being said, we want to help people with the myriad of issues. We're now looking into some opportunities to provide more mental health wraparound services to our community. Help remove that stigma about mental health, that depression, something wrong with you, or if you're a little bit compulsive, where you constantly double check, triple check, quadruple check, whether you clean this, clean that, whether you fix this, fix that, whether you have your keys in your pocket or not in your pocket. Did you sit your keys here or there? Sometimes people repetitively go check those things, and it's called compulsive behavior. But that they can oftentimes learn to address. But then there's the other side of anxiety versus depression. Sometimes you can get overly excited, overly emotional over some things, but the flip side of that pendulum is sometimes you can drop pretty low, where now your senses is dull, your desire to get out and get things done is somewhat dull. You don't quite feel like being as much around people, or even sometimes going to work like you once did. That can happen due to a lot of different situations, but they can be dealt with, and you can learn to balance yourself back out, oftentimes without medication. They're just things you learn to do to help yourself. But sometimes you do need medication to balance you, and that's okay too. We get enough medication to keep ourselves alive physically. Well, if we're mentally, emotionally out of balance, you want to seek balance. It's a lot of spiritual money made by different groups, some legit, some not. Some people in those groups legit, some not. But trying to help people find mental, emotional balance through spiritual growth. So those are channels, and we want to help people bridge the gap through the legitimate mental health fields that are out here to help them. One, we don't want people panicking because they may hear things, see things that's not there, what's somewhat called schizophrenia, and we don't want people to end up digressing, getting worse and worse because they have not treated that illness. There are ways to treat the illness, and a person can come very close to being totally whole and stay functional in life, where they can enjoy life without being overcome by those diseases that affect you mentally and emotionally. There's a thing that oftentimes happens to single mothers in particular, and a lot of good fathers trying to take care of their household. In some cases, they may have been trying to take care of multiple households. It was called a nervous breakdown back in the 70s and 80s, and it was a stigma, like somehow you was a little weaker than others when you went through that. What all it really was your body giving way to the stress of trying to maintain a family. Single mothers trying to raise 4, 5, 6 kids on their own primarily, and or around other struggling poor mothers, and they struggled sometime, and emotionally sometime there was a little bit of a break where they got overwhelmed and they had to go to the hospital and recalibrate, get themselves together. Sometimes they were able to turn the corner and come out in a week or 2 or 3 and be pretty much whole from that point. Sometimes on medicine, sometimes not. But there was nothing weak about them women or those men taking care of their families, to the point that they were overwhelmed, because sometimes they worked 2-3 jobs, then they still had to maintain their households. That is a lot on anyone. Take it from me, trying to work a regular day job in the evenings, trying to help people with recovery, helping people at one time going back to school to work on a master's degree, trying to manage a little piece of property in one of the roughest areas of the city of Chicago, over there on Van Buren and Pulaski, trying to help in the church on a regular basis and be engaged in that, and also helping with civic organizations like the West Side Branch NAACP, helping with the community paper, North Lawndale Community News, while Isaac was developing that, sitting on the board of North Lawndale Small Grants that turned into North Lawndale Human Development Corporation, which has now morphed into the North Lawndale Historical and Cultural Society under the leadership of Blanche Suggs. And we helped create a community garden. We help folks with hundreds of community programs, block by block, group by group, during those 10-year period. But doing all of that, and sometimes not tending to myself, it was a bit of a challenge. And I didn't even have any kids at home to carry me through the paces of life and the ups and downs. But I had enough going on in my life to have me have to step back and recalibrate. Blood pressure had got a little bit out of balance. The weight was out of balance. A few other things were out of balance. And I was out of balance. But since then, I've gotten back my balance in all of those areas, and it is great. But I don't overload myself. I'm not actively working in all those different groups anymore, but I do try to continue to help improve the lives of those in the communities in which I travel the most, which is the west side of Chicago and where I grew up and spent most of my formative years, North Lawndale. And most of the last 20 years, I'm in a tough area, but it's better and getting better. And that's the corridor, was known internationally as the Heroin Highway in Chicago. And that's that strip of Pulaski Road from 16th Street up through Lake Street. And I'm on Van Buren. This traditionally was one of the hottest areas, which it has cooled off substantially. We thank you. Some days you would, if we had a few more houses and you saw the landscape, you'd think we were in Beverly or Chatham. But we're just in a good place of West Garfield that has slowly transformed into a more subtle community where people can have wholesome living and development, and we're trying to keep it that way. And I have an awesome neighbor, named Miss Gina, and she makes sure that one of the tricks of the trades when they were hustling that block was hiding things in the bags of garbage and things that they would throw on the street. So my neighbor has made sure there's no garbage 90% of the time anywhere on our streets for them to hide anything that contributes to the negative lifestyles that permeate our struggling community. And so people stay away when they don't have those props, those street props in which to hide some of their activities. And so, I mean, things like that, we can do to help improve our block, improve our neighborhood, improve the little thoroughfare, the busy, main streets around our houses. Sometimes just that regular cleaning up can prevent some of the negative activity that pops up. Unfortunately, we had to get rid of a few of our old trees because the shade in the summer would draw the negative element when they want to get out the sun. But rather than have them constantly sitting near our homes, around our homes, on our block, catching some shade, several homeowners decided they cut their trees down to have a safer to have less, drug traffic, to contribute to less, gang activity, less strangers walking through looking like zombies to try to pick up some drugs. So it's amazing. If we still see the amount of people that go to food pantries and different areas within an hour or two before they open their doors. We used to have people lining up on our block just like that to poison themselves, to destroy their life on a regular basis, trying to get a pick-me-up that was carrying them down. So I'm so thankful the last few years we have not had to see any of that. I still struggle with the fact you see them going around or past your block to go to others, but sometimes it used to be like a herd, like you see in the old cowboy movies where they moving all the cattle either to town for the slaughter or the sale, or moving them from grazing spaces back into their cages. And these struggling people in the neighborhood used to come through the block just like that. I'd get off work some days, pull up in front of my house, and see the wave going down the street. See the wave coming down the street. See the group standing over in this corner, that corner, waiting. See them in the vacant lots lined up like they are in front of the churches to get food. So it's fortunate we have several blocks. It doesn't get reported on, but those elements have gone for the most part, or 85-90% of that activity, 95%, 98% of that activity has been reduced in some areas, and nobody reports that. They still report when somebody may get killed near that area, when somebody gets shot in that area, get robbed. But we have 3 college kids on my block, 3 kids that was exceptional students, and that doesn't get reported. We have several other kids that's gone on to do some pretty nice things in the music industry. We have several more kids I don't know that well. They went on to college. We have kids that are being productive citizens working at Walmart and other things. Now we have one of our young kids that work on a podcast crew. A new young lady family moved on the block about 3 years ago in one of the rehab houses that is immaculate. But that young lady works with the North Lawndale Community News and Strategic Family Services. She's done podcasts for different organizations. At Malcolm X, they do their own podcast in there. They help set up for other groups to do podcasting. They help teach podcasting and how to write and produce a newspaper along with the editor, Isaac Lewis. But none of that, very little of that gets reported. We have kids from the church that grew up in the community who are going on to college, and it's rarely reported. Some of them have went to some of the best schools, Whitney Young, Northside Prep. Some still go way out to Van Steuben and other places like that. A lot of great students. Even the local schools that still produce, Marshall High School, have some exceptional students that still produce. The only thing they talk about is the girls' basketball team when they doing exceptionally well. And that's great to talk about our sports teams all the time as a positive, but what about those student athletes in particular, and not the ones that's the high scorer, with the one who has scores high in his grades in class that you don't point out that much? What about the student that's exceptional in science in those schools? So sometimes, unfortunately, the negativity in our communities is promoted more than the positive. Not sometime, most of the time. I'm glad that, and he just received an award Saturday at a community event. Newspaper editor Isaac Lewis, North Lawndale Community News, that I had the opportunity to work with when he was developing that and help promote that paper and get it out around North Lawndale. He got an award because he does not believe in negative news. He only reports the positive side of any story. Even if it happens to be a tragedy, he's going to promote the positive side, the healing side for a family, not all the negativity surrounding what may have been a death or an injury, but how they're overcoming the situation. When it comes to, he does highlight our students. He keeps our students engaged and learning how, right, putting their poetry in his newspaper, helping them learn how to write stories about what's going on in the community, what's going on in their schools, what's going on in their life if they choose to write that part. And he highlights achievements throughout the community of different organizations, different businesses. Here you have for the light side, a movie review, and people reviewing movies when they come out every week. So and he keeps that going, and he's always did that. And it's been close to 25 years. He's continued to grow that paper and keep that positive direction in his paper. So, he doesn't do the count on the criminals back in the community or in the community or how many break-ins. He doesn't do that side. He does the side is how people rebuild, how people built the organization to begin with, how people are rebuilding their life, have rebuilt their life, how people are building businesses around North Lawndale, developing houses, how our leadership does the right thing in many instances. If they stumble and fall a little bit, he doesn't jump on that story. He jumps on the story of redemption, of correction, of excelling, of getting things done that the community need done, so that the community can get the resources necessary to move forward. So that's what a Hand Up is about. We're all about uplifting those around us in their living situation, improving the quality of life in every community we're involved in. We're primarily involved on the west side of Chicago. Our major groups where I've lived are North Lawndale, and East-West Garfield. However, I traveled the entire west side trying to help improve life. We've built national and international organizations that have been looked at as models, and we've helped do policy and legislation from the Second Chance Act to Citizens Organized for Healthcare, where we've gotten referendums on the ballot where 75% of the people have chose that you should be able to get treatment from alcoholism, substance abuse at the immediate time when you need it. Unfortunately, we still don't have enough funds to do that. We don't have the will of government to make sure that that's available for people that's struggling, but we continue to work toward that goal. We also have Second Chance Act, where we have nearly $400 million in funding. Probably needs to be about $2 billion nationally to help get more and more ex-offenders, to help them turn their life around when they come out of jail, help them stay off the drugs and or alcohol that contributed to their incarceration, help them get the other educational skills to advance their life, help them have housing when they get out and not end up in the street having to go back to nefarious activities in order just to put a roof over their head or to have a room in a hotel or something, but actually creating the housing that they can move into. So, hey, a Hand Up has a hand in a lot of things going on positive in our community. Most importantly, we're trying to save lives and change families, and we're doing that by trying to help reduce and stop the violence in our areas, in particular, stop the gun violence and killing, but also we're trying to even improve on dealing with domestic violence. Unfortunately, we lost a 16-year-old community member not 10 days ago or so to a violent act by what was supposed to be her boyfriend that was 15. If the story is true, allegedly a 15-year-old boyfriend may have killed this young lady, and that is so sad. But that's us not dealing with a domestic violence for the adults, the young adults, the older teens, and now our younger teens are being affected, and all the negativities in some of these movies. So we really we got our work cut out for us, but we're going to continue to work. We're going to fight the good fight, but most of all, we're going to stay engaged in the spiritual development of our people, the mental, emotional health development of our people, the practical solutions, as well as the proven solutions from those in social work, those in medicine, those in government, to help move our people forward. So it's been great. Oh, we're glad we actually are glad to have all this time to wrap up tonight, but it's going to be a quick wrap. We're going to say peace out, love and happiness. It's been a plum pleasing pleasure to be with you for another 13-week season, and we look forward to the next opportunity, hopefully to come back in a week or two and be right back at you, bringing solutions, ideas, and people that are helping get it done in our community, helping improve the quality of life. It's been a blessing, and it's a wrap for this season.